Lesson 3 in Unit 1 addresses the settings and styles in Civil 3D. Styles are the key to displaying both objects and the annotation for those objects. So you have object styles to control the display of objects, and you have label styles to control the display of the annotation for those objects. In exercise 1, you examine some existing object display styles. In exercise 2, you learn how to create styles. In exercise 3, you learn how to create label styles. In exercise 4, you learn how to modify both object and label styles. And here the emphasis is on actual point styles and point label styles. And in exercise 5, you learn how to use styles hierarchy to modify styles and settings. So if you're getting involved with standardization and setting up your drawing template for your company, this is useful. Exercise 6, you learn how to modify the drawing settings and see how viewport scaling and model space drawing setup scale relates to Civil 3D label styles and their text size. In exercise 7, there's a discussion on command settings, which is useful for assigning default styles and default object names, and also some command specific parameters. And then in exercise 8, you learn how to create a custom drawing template file. So in exercise 1, the object styles control the display of the objects. So if we flip back to AutoCAD Civil 3D, go to the settings tab. Under the points, you have point styles. So you can see that there's a number of point styles that are used to display how a point is viewed on the drawing. Right now, all of these points are controlled by a point group. So if I go back to the prospector window and right-click existing topo and select properties, you can see that the point style is topo and the point label style is point elevation description. So if I change this to, let's just change it to something other than topo, we'll just go gas valve. Now every point is going to be displayed with a node as a gas valve. And we'll go back and we'll set it to basic, and now every point is displayed with a little X. Well, you can also assign a point style directly to a point object. So if we were to go to a tree, here's a coniferous tree, and pick that point, I could right click and select edit points, and then in the panorama window we can assign a point style here, and we can use tree coniferous, and now that point will be displayed as a coniferous tree. If you go back to settings, under point styles, the points, let's just do a refresh on this list here, but the styles that have a little yellow triangle next to them are styles in use. Here's the coniferous tree, and if we look at that, you can see that this point style is referencing an AutoCAD block called tree conif, and that it's being scaled in absolute units. So we can resize that, and notice that you can also scale the tree with the drawing scale. So that's useful for symbols that you're needing to display for multiple scales. So I've just changed that to 3, and the size of the tree updates. So object styles control the display of the objects. If I go back to prospector, we have a surface here that's out of date. I'll just rebuild that surface. The reason why you can't see the surface is because if I go to surface properties, it's using a no display style to display that surface. Well, we can assign a style called triangles, and there's the surface being displayed as triangles. We can assign a style called contours 1 and 5 background, and now you can see it's displaying it as contours. We can display it as elevation banding, and now it's going to shade it based on the elevation range. So the object styles control the display of the objects. And this is the point style that we just looked at, just a summary here. And then you have Exercise 3 in the lesson, you learn how to create a new style. So for example, if I right click on point styles, I can make a new style. I can assign a name. I can control how that point style is being displayed, indicate how it's being displayed in 3D, and you have some component control here. So every style is different. If you look at an alignment style, for example, here's one called layout. You can put markers at the different geometry points on the alignment, and you can control how the different components of that alignment object are displayed. So every style is different and has a different set of components that you can independently control the display of. In exercise 4, you learn how to modify some styles. In exercise 5, you address styles hierarchy. This is an interesting feature because you'll notice that at the drawing level in the settings tab, I can edit label style defaults. But I can also edit label style defaults at a feature level. So right now, if I edit the label style defaults at the alignment level, I can now change the text style for every single alignment label style. So for instance, you can use any of these commands. So I can now say, well, let's change every alignment label to a layer, and let's go to C road text. Where is that? C road text. And what I'll do is this down arrow is indicating that at a lower level in the hierarchy, in one of these trees, it's not C road text, so we can negate that. Now if I go to the label styles, every single label style, regardless of what it is on layer C road text. In this case it's a geometry point. If I look at a line label style, the layer is C road text. Now let's go to the drawing level. I'm going to go to the drawing level and edit label style defaults. Here the default layer is 0, but at a lower level there's an override, so I can negate those overrides and just choose a layer C-ANO. And so what I'm doing here is assigning every single label style in every feature to the C-ANO layer. So if I now go back to major station and look at perpendicular with tick, it's on layer C-ANO. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to control the layer and all of the default label style parameters at various levels, at the drawing level, at the feature level, and even in some instances at a sub-feature level. So if I go to station and major station under alignment, I can right click and select edit label style defaults, and that means that I'm just editing these 3 label styles at the same time because of the hierarchies. Drawing settings and viewport scaling and text size. Just important to understand here that when you create a Civil 3D label style, the height that you specify for that label style is the final plotted height on paper. That's why when you change the drawing setup scale in settings tab of the tool space, you can right click and edit drawing settings. I'm going to change the scale here to 1 to 20. Watch all the text in the drawing. It reduces in size by half. If I change that back to 1 to 100, all of the text sizes will get significantly larger. And this is because Civil 3D will scale the labels with the drawing setup scale and model space, and then the viewport scale and paper space. So if I zoom in and then regen, or if I zoom out and regen, and it's all going to be based on, in paper space, if I go to AutoCAD properties, it's based on the viewport scale, which is right here, which is that's where you'd set that. So really important to understand that your Civil 3D label styles in model space will update with the drawing setup scale or resize, and in paper space they will resize with the viewport scale. So nice powerful feature. And there's just a bit more of a discussion here on that. Drawing settings, you can also specify object layers, so the layer the actual object is placed on. And then in exercise 7 we have command settings. And command settings are a really important part of standardization with Civil 3D. For instance, if I go to the profile command or the profile view command and expand the commands tree, here's the create profile view command. And I can right click and edit the command settings for that particular command, and in here you can assign a default style for the profile view. So for example, if I change the default profile view style here to major grids, and if I went to the profile menu, if I went to the profile view menu to create a profile view, the default style is major grids. So a really important part there, to be able to assign default styles. The user can always change the default style when they create the object, but it's assigning a default style. And furthermore, you can assign default object naming templates. So for example, if I look at the profile view command again, create profile view, the default naming format, well, in this case it's calling the alignment name and going next counter. So what you could do is then just say, well, let's modify that naming template. Let's go parent alignment name and then PV for profile view, and then let's use next counter and reset the number to 1. So now if I was to create a profile view for Orchard Road, it's going to use alignment name PV next counter. So in this case the profile view object will be called Orchard Road PV1. And if you click this button here when you're creating an object, you can always edit the naming template on the fly. And the final exercise in lesson 3 of unit 1 addresses, this is just all the information on the command settings, creating a drawing template. So obviously with all of these standardization elements in AutoCAD, you have layers, blocks, text styles, dimension styles, layout or page setup definitions. And in Civil 3D you have object styles, label styles, drawing, and command settings. You need to say this is a drawing template, so the best way is just to erase all the data. Erase all of your data, either window erase or better yet, erase it through Prospector. Delete the surface. We can delete all of the points. Okay, and then we can delete the parcels. Maybe we just want to delete the entire site. Okay, and then we can just do a window erase on everything else. So now we have a blank drawing. We've done an audit, AUDIT, to search and fix any internal errors. Something that you want to get used to doing in Civil 3D is running your audit command, and then saving as, maybe purging any unreferenced blocks or anything that you're not wanting in this drawing. And then under the application menu, File, Save As, and you can choose DWT here, and it takes you to the default template path that you set in AutoCAD options. Or you can just go here, Save As, and then choose Drawing Template and save the drawing template. So if you are creating standards for your company or a client, an absolute must with Civil 3D is to create and save a drawing template. So that concludes the overview of Lesson 3 in Unit 1 of the AutoCAD Civil 3D 2010 education curriculum.